Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. We have with us Dr. Swamy, a former law, justice, and commerce minister, as well as a six-time parliamentarian. And Dr. Swamy, it was the originator of the complaint against National Herald. We all know that. But today we are going to cover what more is left. There is a lot that needs to be talked about. And before we go into our first question, let's welcome the guest of the evening, Dr. Swamy. Dr. Swamy, namaskaram and welcome to PGurus channel, sir.
And thank you.
So, Dr. Swamy, first I want to have you explain this tweet by the former Home and Finance Minister P. Chidambaram, who also charades as a lawyer, about his comprehension of the lack of FIR in this case.
Okay. Well, Chidambaram is a master bluffer. His whole life is one big bluff. And this is also a bluff. Because, these jargons and so on, people get carried away. In the CRPC, the Criminal Procedure Code, which tells you how to proceed with prosecuting a crime. And there are two parts. One is called the IPC, which is the Indian Penal Code, which tells you which are the things that a lawbreaker would be subjected to, which are the provisions of the law which would apply to these things. So it has everything in it, right from defamation down to murder and things like that. So CRPC is Criminal Procedure Code, is how to proceed to prosecute a person who has broken the law. So in the Criminal Procedure Code, it has been laid two routes by which you can do it. You can either go to a police station and say this crime has been committed, so please register an FIR. This is one, and that is, I think, in chapter 12. And then in the chapter 15 of the Criminal Procedure Code, there is something called a complaints case. So I came through the complaints case, and I also gave a complaint to the Enforcement Directorate, which is now presently being pursued. In the complaints case, there's no FIR. The magistrate puts you on the witness box, and then you have to describe what the crime is, and then you have some witnesses who are supported by the law that yes, this is prima facie, there has been a breaking of the law. And in our case, J. Gopi Krishnan and M.R. Venkatesh did it before the magistrate, and I of course came on the witness box, and I on oath I made the statement as to why this is a criminal act on the part of Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, Motilal Vora, Oscar Fernandez, Pitroda, Suman Dubey, these six people. And having completed that, the court then heard my two witnesses, J. Gopi Krishnan and the other is MRV, and both of them explained very clearly how the law has been broken. And they did a very good job. And much more, of course, MRV, because he's a lawyer, chartered accountant, and so on. And J. Gopi Krishnan is a well-known journalist. He can dig up anything from anywhere. And so he explained how Rahul Gandhi wrote him a letter to say that we have no intention of starting a newspaper, which was itself a breaking of one of the provisions of the act by which the journal this newspaper was constituted. So now coming down to Mr. Chidambaram, he says there's no FIR, but there can be no FIR in a complaints case. In the complaint case, once I'm examined, the summons are issued, and then the process starts. If I go to through the FIR route, then the police will do the investigation, and then the police will prepare a charge sheet, and that charge sheet will go to the court. So that's why a separate route that you go to finality. So he took advantage, Chidambaram took advantage, I'm sure, of the ignorance of the public about the laws and so on. And therefore he said, no FIR. Now everybody knows FIR. Nobody knows a complaint case,
Yes, yes.
and so on. So they say, how is the FIR not there? So now I've begun the process of explaining, and that now I saw today no congressman was repeating this about not there being an FIR. But Chidambaram should be taught a lesson. He should be at least censured by the legal profession for deliberately misleading the public when he should have known, if he's got a degree in law, that there is a complaint case route which I have followed.
And dear viewers, any of you who may come to know that Mr. Chidambaram is representing your interest in any court, you may want to show this video to show his ignorance. It's very important because people just throw words without understanding the import. I'm sure, Dr. Swamy, a lot of channels in Tamil Nadu, which is perhaps the most ridiculous way they put their news out, they probably also did that. No FIR, no FIR. I don't know. I stopped watching them anyway. Dr. Swamy, let's get back to the current ongoing ED investigation. Today is the third day that Rahul Gandhi is there sitting. Dr. Swamy, what I'm hearing is that Rahul Gandhi is taking the same question and then he answers one time, then he crosses it out, answers again, crosses it out again, answers one more time. So is this a delay tactic or naivete, or is there something else, sir?
You see, normally it is all done orally. They ask you a question and then it is taped and then it is reduced to writing. I'm told that I haven't got this, I'm not there, so I won't say I've got eyewitness account of this, that Rahul Gandhi is giving all answers in writing. And then after giving it, he takes it back, and sometimes he takes it back after 1 hour, 2 hours, and then starts correcting it. So much of the delay that is taking place, I think today also he is going on till 11 o'clock or something like that. Much of it, the delay that is taking place is because of this tedious process he is adopting. But I would say that judging by what is going on, strictly speaking, if politically we don't chicken out, I think the Enforcement Directorate should send Mr. Rahul Gandhi to jail for custodial interrogation. See, custodial interrogation is different. Your whole psychology changes. You're in one room, you're all alone, and there's nobody standing outside and doing demonstrations. You don't go home in the evening, so you stay in the jail, and it has a effect of you becoming more frank or being careless, to be caught out in a contradiction. So I would say that the way these people have behaved, I think the Enforcement Directorate should take him to Tihar jail, keep him there, and interrogate him in the jail, and not in such circumstances as he is presently being interrogated.
And viewers, all these cases are just the beginning. That is the illegal way the company was formed, and the fact that this company started getting a lot of rental income for which it did not pay interest, and so on and so forth. I mean, this is, if you think of it like an onion, this whole National Herald scam, this is just a few layers that have been uncovered thus far. So, Dr. Swamy, can you kind of walk us through what more is there? What are the scams? Panchkula buildings, Mumbai buildings, Lucknow properties, and there is a fair amount of stuff that is still not being brought up because everything came up and then somehow it has kind of stopped somewhere. Perhaps you can give us a 360-degree view of all the different things that are happening in and around this National Herald scam, Dr. Swamy.
Well, first of all, I will say that there are a number of branches of this crime.
Yes.
And it's not necessary that you must find them guilty on all of them. I would say that mine is the most advanced one, where I'm arguing, where I'm the lawyer, I'm also the witness, and so on. So there, the conspiracy of these board of directors of the Young Indian, which two are dead now. Now it's reduced to, I think, four. And Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi together now have 100% of the company's shares, which is only 5 lakhs. And in that, the fact that they fraudulently acquired the 99.1% of the shares of the Associated Journals Limited by all kinds of gymnastics, that itself is enough to send them for a long time to jail, because it'll be breach of trust, it'll be breach of criminal breach of the criminal breach in acquiring these properties. Then 420, they're about 4-5. There's one 409 that if you are a public servant and you do that, you can go for life term. I didn't originally bring 409. I just brought one. The 120B, which is conspiracy, then 403, 405, and of course cheating, which is another section. But I did not bring this 409. 409 is deadly. So 420, 199, all these things will take them for about 20 years if you do it not simultaneously, but separately, these judgments. So I would say, in addition to this, the branches are income tax evasion. It's a criminal evasion. And there's been perjury in that also. So they can go to jail in that too. Of course, they have to pay a hefty fine. I think for per year, they have to pay about 500 crores. That is the way it is going. And then there is the property issue. That this property that was given to Associated Journals, Delhi, of course, Bahadur Shah Zafar Marg, there's a huge building that was given for printing a newspaper. Same thing in Bandra, which is the most prime area of Bombay. The land was given to start a branch of the National Herald newspaper, but actually they have built a 25-story apartment building there and have sold it out. So that's a complete violation. There's a breach of trust and so many other things that are involved. Then you have in Bhopal, they have converted into a mall, big mall. Same thing in Indore, then in Lucknow, in Patna, and then in Panchkula they converted. They sold out the land for people having houses, and they got caught, and that's also advanced stage. So all these we can do it stage by stage. I don't think that at the moment what we are doing on the enforcement directorate, because the enforcement directorate punishments are much more strict than the IPC punishments. IPC punishments are bad enough, but this is really strict. And here, what they have done is they needed to give Congress party 50 lakhs. You see, this transaction, you must understand what crooked transaction it is. Associated Journals Limited shut down in 2008. The reason they gave is that we are bankrupt and we owe Congress party 90 crore rupees, which the Congress party was kind enough to give it to us to pay the salaries of the workers and all that. And but we can't do it anymore, and so we're closing it down. So that was step number one. Now, income tax, which had gone through every paper, and I must compliment the income tax official, forget his name, I think Rameshwar Singh or something like that. A very bright, extremely bright income tax official. He was the commissioner of income tax in Delhi. And he did this analysis, and he found that, lo and behold, that neither in the Congress Party's office nor in Associate Journal's office, there's even a scrap of paper to say that a loan was given. Not even no, leave alone donations. Even a loan was given. The whole argument is built on this, that they can't pay back the loan. And so that is a fraud, number one. Number two, what the Congress Party was told by Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, Motilal Vora, Oscar Fernandez, 4 directors of the Young Indian. Who did they tell? They told Sonia Gandhi, the president of Congress Party, Rahul Gandhi, vice president of Congress Party, then Motilal Vora, treasurer of the Congress Party, and Oscar Fernandez, general secretary. So these 4 directors told each other, you see, that you can't recover this 90 crores, which is a lie, by the way, because company law allows for auctioning the property to recover the debt owed to you. So they could have really auctioned the thing and collected the 90 crores. But there was no question of any intention of collecting, because it never given in the first place. So on this fraud, Sonia Gandhi talks to Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi talks to Rahul Gandhi, Oscar Fernandez talks to Oscar Fernandez, and Motilal Vora, treasurer, talks to Motilal Vora. What do they tell the Congress Party? You can't recover this now. So we'll give you, 50 lakhs, and you assign this loan to us. So we become the owners of a dud loan. This is a dud loan, you can't get anything, and therefore we give you 50 lakhs. And the Congress Party accepts it because they are the same people. Then Motilal Vora goes to the AJL, that is the Associate Journals Limited, and Motilal Vora is also the chairman of the AJL. So Motilal Vora, the director of Young Indian, goes to Motilal Vora of Associated Journals Limited and tells them, you can't give this 90 lakhs to us, but we make a proposal. You issue new 99 crore, not 90 lakhs by the way, 90 crores. You issue 9 crore rupees, 9 crore new shares.
Yeah.
New shares of 10 rupees each. You have to ask the company law board for that. You have to ask the various agencies on that. You have to tell the other shareholders who are there already. There are about 1,000 of them. You told nobody, and you made this deal. And by getting 9 crore shares, they acquired 99.1% of the total shares of the AJL.
AJL, right.
So it became a part of Young Indian. That is how they became part of an Indian. Now, this itself is enough to prosecute them. So all these stupid arguments, they have not touched a penny of it. They have not. They're not the issue. The issue is that you did fraud. You did 420. You criminally misappropriated. All these have got nothing to do with how much money you grabbed. You see? So they go on misleading by saying, oh, we are doing something. There's not a penny we have touched. All right, that's for justice to see later. Now, in the meantime, how did they get 50 crore lakhs to give to Congress Party? When the total paid up capital was only 5 lakhs. How did they do it? So they say, they wanted 35 lakhs. They didn't have 35 lakhs. They could have gone to a bank and said, okay, we are giving our personal mortgages and you give us this money. They didn't do that. They went to a shady company which is already under investigation. Look at the hubris. The ED during the Congress period was investigating this Dotex
Yeah.
company, yeah, and some Bandari and some Goenka. They all had been served summons, you see. And that company, you go and say, I want 1 crore rupees. And what did you give for that? No explanation anywhere. And that company also gives 1 crore as donation. That's what it's put in its account. And what is Congress put in, what is Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi, etc., put in the Young Indian? They have put in the budget, in their accounts, loan. At what interest rate? 0 interest rate. What is the mortgage? 0, no mortgage. In this day and age, can you get a loan for 1 crore without interest payment, without having surety?
No security. Yeah.
Yeah. These are all 420s. 420 attracts the section 420. So, plus of course criminal appropriation. They criminally appropriated AJL, and AJL became a wholly owned subsidiary of Young Indian, and therefore they didn't have to merge it in Young Indian, at least not yet, because I had come into the picture by then. But they were operating it through that. The buildings, they were collecting the revenue, rent, Delhi, Bandra, Lucknow, Bhopal, Indore, Patna, and then Panchkula. So there are a large number of places. So there's a gigantic fraud that has been committed.
Dr. Swamy, we are, capturing a lot of information probably for the first time, because many people may have not read the book National Herald Frauds. Yeah. This was the intent for writing that book, because what we saw was this is like a hydra. It was a hydra with growing, this here, that there, and so on and so forth. So the book actually chronologically captures all the different investigations that have started coming out. So viewers, if you want really to understand the depth of the hubris, this is really, hubris of the highest order, and somebody sold them Kool-Aid. That's all I can say. Kool-Aid is a drink that is used in US in a derogatory way, that, somebody drank. Whose Kool-Aid did you drink? So somebody told them that nothing will happen. We are all good. You close your eyes and open, and you are going to own 5,000 crores worth of properties all over India. So this is the name of the book, National Herald Frauds. It's available on Amazon. It's also going to be available on other outlets such as 𝙒𝙗𝙗𝑖𝙠.com shortly. Let's get back to one other interesting thing.
Before you proceed further, there was one other. I don't know whether Ramesh wants this to be kept secret or not. There's one young lawyer, just graduated. He came to be in my chamber. He said he wanted some experience, so I put him in, to assist me in legal matters. The entire structuring of these corruptions was done by him, but he's so shy that he's disappeared. And being a good Madrasi Brahmin, he doesn't want to be in a controversy. So let me use his surrogate, which is called Ramesh, who is part of our team, for the excellent work he did in analyzing this corruption.
You're absolutely right, Dr. Swamy. Somewhere these people just ran away. They said nothing is going to happen to us. Nobody is going to touch us. And this kind of a hubris rings through the entire scam as you go through. Dr. Swamy, one thing that is completely puzzling me is that the family is sticking it to the party. The family has needlessly dragged the party, saying the party gave 90 crores loan, which the party is not supposed to do. And basically,
And didn't give
and didn't
also.
give also. And why are the Karyakartas fighting for them? Guys, you are being screwed over. You are being screwed over. If anything happens to you tomorrow, if the party collapses because of this, you are all touts. You will have no touting left anymore. For the next 100 years, I don't see Congress coming back to power, because the amount of corruption that has been done is just human. I mean, Dr. Swamy, they may have to have separate courts for just Congress party scams.
No, I think you might know, or some of your friends might have seen. Some of the TV people interviewed the guys who were sitting in the pandal. I said, why you come? He said, we don't know. We were told you have to come. So I don't think you should talk in terms of party karyakartas. They were told, come and demonstrate, your queen and prince are going to jail, and you have to see that it doesn't happen. They have behaved very disgracefully, and they have lost the sympathy of the public, if there was any sympathy in that section of our electorate which is pro-Congress. And so I think they have actually, by this behavior, they have they have dug a grave, which now only we have to push them in and cover it up with mud.
And viewers, 1/5 of India is middle class, and I'm sure a lot of you are now doing what is called as systematic investment plans, using mutual funds to. I mean, you're not given a choice. Your company says you have to invest. You are investing it. You may want to start reading, because it is my contention. And Dr. Swamy, I'm going to give you what my contention is. This thing about stock manipulation, tax evasion, and money laundering. It's a recurring theme in many companies of India. Companies of India. And one of the things that was stunning was the NDTV itself. These people still morally, they are pontificating even now. They themselves are, they have done all three things: tax evasion, money laundering, as well as stock manipulation. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Dr. Swamy, we've got what? 4 companies, media companies: INX Media, Quint, NDTV, and I don't remember the 4th one. But you can see the recurring themes, sir, everywhere. And viewers, you need to really do your research on your systematic investment plans, because that is a pyramid that is about to collapse. So I don't want to be saying a disaster monger here, but there are some indications in the stock market that the mutual fund investment by foreign investors is completely going out. In other words, what's going to happen is the complete mutual fund investment is going to be only consisting of retail investors of India. The problem with that is validation is a problem. If no foreign investor is putting in, that means they don't have any faith in your mutual fund system. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm concerned. I'm not sure this is right or wrong. The government doesn't say anything. Finance ministry should be telling all these things. SEBI should be telling all these things. You got to have some way to tell people, like, look, these are the things that are happening. Dr. Swamy, back to National Herald. Let us say one of the Gandhis meets their maker. What happens to the case, sir?
Nothing. There's still the other Gandhi there, and there's ultimately maybe Sam Petrota and Suman Dobe will be left holding the bag. I don't know, unless they appoint new directors, which
for the deceased ones, yeah,
for the deceased ones. So no, and most important of all, this property becomes government's.
Yes.
And government can play, create a new university in every one of those towns, you see. So I think don't worry about that. I think there's God, and God has delayed many of these people's departures. So I don't think they have a problem.
Yeah. And Dr. Swamy, with your permission, maybe we can take a couple of questions related to only this National Herald Frauds, not general things about the world. If we have any questions, can we have them, please? So there were a lot of comments going on, Dr. Swamy. So we are sifting through the things to see if there are any questions. There you go. First one. Mohan Partha Sarathy wants to know, from now on, how long do you think it will take for this case to a conclusion and the mother and son to get convicted by the court?
Well, if there's no obstruction, I must tell you that there has been obstruction. I won't name who and was behind. There's a lot of petty jealousies, you see. For example, people don't want me to succeed. 𝙒𝙧𝙤𝙬𝙤 blocked this present one of ED. I had given it in writing in June 2014. Jaitley had become finance minister, and he blocked it. And he made a public statement that what is this National Herald matter? Let them give back the money, and the matter is over. How can you commit a crime and then you give the money back and the crime is over? After that, I couldn't, on this question of this matter of what is now in the before the ED, I couldn't touch the matter. Then in 2018, MRB gave me a message. MR Venkatesh gave me a message that the enforcement director is now again interested. Then Satya and my other legal cell people, Satya Sabharwal and some other, they sat down and produced, and Satya particularly, produced a 100-page thing for the enforcement directorate, and that's how it started. So we could have, we wasted 5 years. So when people ask me this, I said, listen, I am going through the court. And in a sense, so far it has been only 9 years. Now 9 years is nothing. Even in the United States, 9 years is nothing. So what these crooks rely on is that we will delay. And the people will say, nothing is going to happen, nothing is going to happen. And in the end, if the government changes, then these corrupt people come back, or they said the whole thing was made up, it's all fraud, cheating, this thing, that thing, there's no FIR, all this rubbish that will be spread. So these are the dangerous things. You see, you have to have that tenacity to continue. Now, I started it when they were in power, so I will have no problem if they come to power again to continue it if it is not concluded now. But I would like to see it concluded by the next year, July. Next year, July, I'd like to see Sonia and Rahul go to Tihar jail for a long, long time. There will be no more in bail gadi, but in Tihar gadi, you see. So, and maybe Chidambaram for company also by then, by another route, which is also my case. It is on my case, Air Cell Maxes, etc. These are all my cases. So I think this hopelessness breeding, which the other side keeps doing, don't fall for it. Say it doesn't matter, but even if nothing happens, but we have got to try. We should have the satisfaction that we tried, and the system was not ready for it. But I think, frankly, we have reached a stage where if there is no interruption or blockages from my own government, then I'll tell you by next July, these people will be in jail.
Thank you, Dr. Swamy. And Ramani Kirthivasan, we've already answered this question. In fact, I asked it on your behalf. So basically, what happens if Sonia Gandhi's health deteriorates further? So let's go to the next question. Girish Lohani wants to know, does reigniting interest in this case have something to do with presidential election? BJP can't be trusted with closing any case, implementing any law, ... That shows the confidence of the people in its ability, sir.
No, you see, the thing is that these cases are not with the government, they are with me. I'm only asking the government agencies to do their work. The only thing the government should not do is tell these guys, go slow, go slow. But then I will make it public. It is now, those days in 2014, I couldn't do very much because it just come to power and I didn't want a controversy that we are suppressing it. Even then it came in the press and so on. So I would say now the situation is such that we are heading for an election. And if the government does not cooperate and allow the agencies to do their work, then in the election it will become an issue. And that is why I think our people are very keen that this should be completed in due process. We don't want to do it in such a way that the sympathy develops. Everything has to be shown to be what it is. And the Congress party is itself in a position to help us in it, because the way they are burning tires and doing dharnas and so on, they made a spectacle of the whole thing. And the people are disgusted, saying that if they have nothing to hide, why do they have to do all this?
In fact, this is going to harm the party more than help it. So
Yeah.
really, Dr. Swamy, before we take the next question, I want to also bring forth one incident that I heard. This is how difficult politicians can make it for bureaucrats to do their job. Dr. Swamy, I'm not going to mention names, but a certain finance minister was listening to the progress of the CBI and the investigative officer on what was happening in the NDTV frauds. And then he comes to know that Mr. Roy is waiting to see him. You know what he does? He asks these two, CBI officer and his investigative officer, to go sit outside and allows Mr. Roy to come inside. They have tea, gupshup for half an hour. So the idea, what is he conveying? To me, it seems to say that the person you are accusing, the person you are spending so much time on, is actually more important to me, because I'm showing you that you go and wait outside. I will talk to this fellow.
Yeah, I
and,
agree.
And then I'll deal with you. So bureaucrats also have a problem, Dr. Swamy. I mean, I am very critical sometimes, but this is also the truth.
No, it's fine. You see, I know who you're talking about, but he himself will be in jail, so there's no problem. There are very few people as crass as him, and and he's not going to be in the finance ministry anyway. I don't see Congress party ever coming back to power. I don't even see the opposition coming to power, as long as the BJP is controlled in formal terms by the RSS, which has a machinery which is unparalleled in the world. And these are all volunteers who don't take money. So booth agents, everything. I mean, RSS is the foundation on which BJP is there. And therefore, I don't see any difficulty coming to power again in 2024. The only thing that would happen is, if we don't do it, some heads will have to roll and RSS will have to take a call on that. And so I'm sure that everyone knows that it's in the larger interest of the BJP to conclude this quickly. But those guys who wear lungis and move around and patronize crooks, we've seen that in the National Security Exchange case. And they don't have much time. They're just ruining themselves. And so you don't have to worry about that.
Dr. Swamy, speaking of RSS, I just want to give a funny incident. Last week, there is a neighborhood near me. It's a city called Saratoga, where multimillionaires live. Now, a group of Muslims, 30 people.
This is in California.
In California, there's a small town called Saratoga, Saratoga.
Yeah, I know Saratoga.
Multimillionaires live there, and 30 odd Muslims are chanting there. Ban RSS in the US. Okay, there is no RSS in US. Just shows you the intellectual depth these people have. Then they say ban RSS in India. Who the hell are you to tell all these things? The fact that RSS cannot be corrupted really gets to gets under the skin of many people here, sir.
Yeah, well, I mean, there isn't a parallel organization either in India or abroad which has been built on the principles they are built. You can have some difficulties with them because they are so disciplined, and then you can't meet that disciplinary requirements. I've had that problem in the past, but they are people who recognize your value, and they ultimately they ensure that you are not affected by some of the things that people get critical of you about it. I would not be in BJP today and surviving, unlike Mr. Jetmalani or Arun Chori and so on, only because of RSS. So that kind of a balancing factor which is there is extremely important in a democracy, and therefore I am sure that the corrupt will not overtake the BJP ever, and therefore this case cannot be, for a long period, cannot be sabotaged by anybody.
Next question from Kalyani Kotapati. Where is the money come from rents of the huge buildings of AJL? I think what they are saying is, where did the money go? You collect the rent from all these places. Where is the money?
No, money is all banked. The thing is that what is taken, see, they are entitled to withdraw money for expenses. Now, I am not so much concerned with these things because they're not directly related to any violation of the law. Okay, if they are directors, they can draw draw money for the expenses, air travel, and you know that they travel very frequently abroad. So all that they can say, no, this is for furthering the cause of youth and so on, which is part of their manifesto. I mean their statement for the setting up of the company. So even if they have taken all the money, we'll get it back. We'll get it back with the interest. We'll attach their properties, and so you don't have to worry about that. It will be sidetracking your issue.
I think this is the last question, and I have one question after this, sir, and then we'll call it a wrap. Santosh Bannur wants to know, Dr. Swamy, as political parties cannot give loans, what is the implication on that party? And AJL, a Section 25 company, sold out properties and are unable to pay loans. Request you to explain.
Well, I have had this problem, and in these people are quoting it. The Election Commission is also full of politically sensitive people. When I raised this issue that the Congress claims they gave money to a commercial company, are they permitted to misuse the funds which they collect from the party workers? And the Election Commission gave me a wishy-washy answer. And then, of course, the lawyers of the Congress party then try to misuse it by saying the Election Commission has rejected it. Election Commission has nothing to do with the corruption of it. I'm only asking a question whether they can give a loan. Now I don't even have to ask that question because the income tax has proved that there was never any loan given. It was a fraud on the public to say that they had given 90 crores. So the Election Commission is not a body which we can take it for this kind of massive corruption issue, because the wordings are also very yes. Election Commission, I can go for de-recognizing DMK, which I'm now almost prepared all the papers and I'm about to submit them for saying that Brahmins should be subject to genocide. That's a clear case. But this whether they can give money here or money there, it's an arguable proposition which I don't want to get into.
Dr. Swamy, last question. This is from a Twitter thread. Asked by an individual who came to a book release function that was associated with one of your family members, and he starts out with saying, Dr. Swamy ko gussa kyun aata hai? That was what was told in that talk. But here is his question. It's a pretty good question, by the way. Since 2011, ED has conducted 1,700 raids and 1,569 specific investigations. The rate is increasing by an average of 20% a year, but only 9 convictions obtained under PMLA as of February this year. This is a source from a Supreme Court hearing on PMLA. What happens to high-profile cases when the din dies down? This is a very general, good question, sir.
It's a good question. But invariably, the people who can protest don't protest. In a party, everybody, see, there is a limit to discipline. Discipline in a democracy is that you must be orderly, not that you must only obey what the people in authority decide. In Britain, when Chamberlain was supporting Hitler, his minister was Winston Churchill, and he was openly criticizing him. And nobody thought, of course, other members said, it's Winston Churchill is a egotistical, this, that. But there was no disciplinary issue involved. And then Churchill was proved right and he became the prime minister. So I think in a democracy, we should develop this concept that you can take a stand and you don't have to worry about what the party is thinking if you think something is wrong. And then I think this kind of situation where when people lose interest, the whole thing fades away. If you have people who are interested in fighting corruption and are willing to stick their necks out, I don't think our system will chop their head off.
Dr. Swamy, as an interesting aside, when it was clear that Chamberlain had to go, the only person the opposition would accept for a prime minister's choice was Winston Churchill, because the opposition knew that he was one of the least liked among his own party. So there was a unity government formed, and in that, there were people of all the different parties, and Churchill became the prime minister. There are very interesting stories on Netflix about Churchill. I urge our viewers to watch them because we need to understand the history. Otherwise, we are doomed to repeat it again. And very, very interesting. That's where the phrase "keep your," So Churchill had Chamberlain, and there was one Lord. I don't remember what he was, from the House of Lords, a noisemaker. These people were one of his closest advisors. That's where the phrase, keeps your friends close and enemies closer came, because that was what he was faced with at that time. Very interesting story, sir. I think we're done with the questions, Dr. Swamy. We wish you all the best. This is certainly a Mahabharata of its own in just this one thing, where we are going through so many different things, and yet the people still feel that there is, the preponderance of evidence is there. I mean, what more do you want to say that this family is full of hubris, and a few people around this family, all of them are equally guilty in so many other scams, and yet none of them has seen the jail, and we have innocents being thrown in jail.
Now, see, let me put a little damper on that. Did I not send Jayalalitha to jail and Sashikala to jail?
You did.
Sashikala was 5 years. Jayalalitha, of course, her health failed, and so she didn't do too much in jail. I think a couple of years. But nobody thought it could be done, and I did it alone. I mean, there was no DMK. Some of them tried to enter in at the later stage by saying we also like to. Only time that they intervened was when Karunanidhi became chief minister after Jayalalitha lost because of my campaign against her corruption. He then started saying, no, the state will take over the prosecution. But I didn't allow that. And ultimately, the whole thing fell on my shoulders, and I argued the matter in the Supreme Court. I argued it in the High Court. And ultimately, she did go to jail, and Sashikala spent 5 years in jail. And that's why I say now she starts with a new slate. I'm not against her coming to power and saying, "Oh, you are corrupt." Then you have paid a price. So I have many other cases, you see, where I've sent people to jail, but it doesn't get publicity. What gets publicity, then a delay takes place. So we have to also have an atmosphere, not to disparage the fact that it takes so much time. Tariq per Tariq, so much delay, why so much delay? All these are people who are crooks, who are deliberately put into Twitter, for example, to just say this. Nothing will happen. Kuch nahi hoga, sab aise hi hai. And also, I think this is the biggest cancer of our society, this corruption. And everybody should be in a mode to encourage and not to discourage.
Couldn't agree with you more, Dr. Swamy. And there are a couple of hangouts I did in the last few days. I've been hearing a lot of similar stuff, like you said, discouraging. But that's okay. We are not here to listen to that. We know that this is what the country needs. That's why we are suggesting things. Thank you very much, Dr. Swamy. Hope viewers, you like this program, and you can show your appreciation by clicking on the super thanks button and donating what you think was worth listening to Dr. Swamy. Certainly, Dr. Swamy put in a lot of time. He doesn't take any of these long interviews, lightly. He puts in a lot of preparation time, and you can see that he has not dodged a single question of yours nor of mine. And we all knew a lot more stuff is still there in National Herald. Hopefully, this wakens the people And Dr. Swamy, heartfelt thanks, sir. And we'll be back again with more such episodes. Namaskar.
Okay.